Well, cell phones are not a necessary thing. It's not necessary. You can live your life without a cell phone. Look at my
You
daughter.
can live
She's
your
fine.
life without a light bulb. You don't have to
But
have
I'm just
hydro.
saying the government did do it. That's all I'm saying. The
I
government
know.
did do
I'm
it, right?
just
I mean,
saying we don't need to
yeah,
we
I
don't
know. I don't need my toilet paper, but the government never gave me an incentive for that, right? But
yeah.
I'm just saying we could pick on a number of things that the government didn't give an incentive on. But what they did do was on certain things when it comes to saving the planet, energy, they offer incentives. And so electric vehicles are better than ICE vehicles, and same with the hydrogen vehicles. They're going to be the same. They're going to be offering incentives on that. It's like, okay, listen, so we're going to get into it because, oh man, in this corner
What do you mean we're going to get
wearing
into it?
blue, we can Michael Pommy.
We're already into it, Ivan.
Hey, listen, so first of all, thank you everybody for joining me for Tech Talk this morning. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you can tell, guess who's not here?
Well, Catherine's not here.
Catherine's
Teresa's not here.
And
Allie's not here.
you
Allie's
know
not
why?
here.
I hope so. Do we
Yes,
have news?
yeah, in fact, I think her name is Madeline, little Maddie, arrived yesterday morning. So she sent us a note saying that I'm upset that she didn't call her Ivana, or TechTalkia. Anyway, it's okay. We'll let that one slide. But yeah, how exciting is that? Do you remember that, Cass? The first day, that bundle of joy, thinking, oh man, life's gonna change. But
what have I done? I'm in
right, Maggie, you remember? Oh my goodness. Amazing. Well, it is something that, when all the things that could possibly go wrong, I mean, we're just so fortunate that we live in a society that, that this process is easier. I could not imagine going through that process 300-400 years ago, and there's a complication because there's a complication. Things are going to go real bad real fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But today, with our hospitals and technology and everything else, we're very, very, very fortunate. And then one day, if you've seen that commercial, we won't even carry those children. They'll be carried in a little pod, and we'll go by and we'll see them every now and then and read them and talk to them so they get used to our voices. And then one day they'll say, your baby will be ready, and you hear that little microwave ding. You go and you pick up your kid, so
let's hope it never gets to that.
Yeah.
If we can do it, we will do it. That's the problem. All right.
Yeah, but you see, that is one of our problems, is just because we can do something doesn't always mean we should do it. There's some things that we can do that we just shouldn't.
I know. Talk to Elon Musk about AI. He'll tell you the same thing. Just because we can do it doesn't mean that we should do it. So, so let's chat about electric cars. So yesterday, I think I got a news thing saying, hey, great, oil prices or gasoline prices have dropped by 10 cents. Enjoy it. I'm thinking, it's dropped down to 164. Like, I'm sorry, that's not a price drop. It's like a pacify you a little bit before we jack it up to like 190, right? Like, that's not great. How many of you have thought about getting an electric car? Still,
I thought about getting a car.
So no interest in getting an electric car.
We're looking at buying another a gas car, Toyota, either Corolla or Camry, not electric. We live in an apartment building. There's no way we're going to charge it from the apartment building. The nearest public charging is too far for me to walk to. It's Limeridge Mall, and I live on Upper Garth, Upper Gauge, and Fennel. Which means I would have to get on my mobility scooter, my electric mobility scooter, to go to get my car. I might as well just go to the supermarket with my electric scooter. And then...
Okay. All right, I buy it. Okay, so, but Cass, no?
Again, I rent, so and there's nowhere to put in a charger, and I'm downtown. I don't even know where my closest charging station would be. And the one thing that I heard that bothers me or worries me, I guess, the most is the infrastructure around bridges and roadways, that electric cars are actually that much heavier, that if we had switched and we were all driving electric cars, that our roadways would not support it.
Should you actually, Cass, that's actually a really good point. They say if you took, like, you mentioned the Toyota Camry, I think that's actually available as an electric car. If you look at the weight of a gasoline powered vehicle versus an electric powered vehicle, that electric powered vehicle weighs about 20% more. And there's been studies in the States where they know that if electric car adoption gets too high, not only is there going to be the cost of the infrastructure for the cars themselves, but there's going to be increased maintenance. Bridges will not last as long, roads will not last as long. And what's the environmental cost of having to repave all those roads 20% sooner because of the weight that's going on them? And then also the funding from that. Right now, electric cars in Ontario don't pay a road tax, which we pay in the gasoline. So not only do we subsidize them with an upfront thing federally, thankfully not provincially, but then we have these increased costs that everybody else has to pay because electric car users aren't paying their fair share for use of the roads, and not even fair share, based on the weight of a gas car, but the increased maintenance that it's going to cost us for those roads.
So Cass, you're saying that as we're heading over that bridge going over to Burlington there, that in bumper to bumper traffic in the morning, right, where we're all standing still, that additional weight per vehicle times how many vehicles do you think are on that thing? If they're all electric.
No, that's not what she's saying.
Okay.
What she's saying is the pavement, the road bed has to be, because those cars, the expansion joints in there, when you over those expansion joints, so how you see them, they drill those things out and they got to put new ones in. That's what's going to have to be done sooner. Okay. And there's an increased cost to that.
Right.
But even the bridge structure is going to be damaged too because of the excess weight. Yeah, like there's and talking about cost, if you have a green vehicle, you don't have to pay for your HOV lanes.
Yes, sure. Yeah. That's a benefit.
Sounds great, right? But
it's a good thing. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, the other problem I have with electric cars is currently all the mining is done by heavy equipment that's gas or diesel powered. It is also transported from the site of the mining to all the way to another country in which to be processed. Then it has those batteries that then are transported back to the company that's making the electric vehicle by a gas or diesel vehicle, boat, whatever, truck.
Okay.
What is the sense when we have?
Is there anybody here who
we can
thinks
easily
it's a great
take
idea to go electric?
We can take a gas powered car and convert it to run on hydrogen. So easy.
Okay. All right.
The cost is minimal.
That's not the prevailing technology here. Okay?
But you also have to, Paul, you actually mentioned something really good there, is the mining. And what's the environmental cost to our landscape? Like in Ontario, we have a lot of lithium in the north. They're going to blast through the rocks to build a railway up to those areas. They're going to build a highway up to those areas. That all comes at an environmental cost.
Okay. All right. So, okay, let me ask a question then. Does range anxiety have an impact on you? And Cass, to answer your question about the charging, there's a gentleman in our building here who has a Nissan Leaf, and he has an adapter, and he went to the building. He said, "Listen, I've got an electric car. Can I plug in?" And they said, "Yeah, sure." Then they moved him to a spot where there's a plug. So at night he plugs in, and he's fine. He just drives. He works in town, and he just drives to work, comes back home, plugs in, and gets free electricity because the building doesn't charge us for electricity, so he gets it for free. The building's paying for it, and hopefully the landlord doesn't see this to understand that there's a cost to it. But the point is that I think that you could probably accommodate it, and for the majority of the trips that we take, like you and me, we're just driving around town, or we're just going to the next town over. Not a lot of us are really going a lot of places except for Michael. And so, anybody here have range anxiety? Cass, you said yeah, and then I'll get to you in a sec, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely worry about the distance if I want to like drive to Ottawa or something like that, and I don't know what the distance is, the range. But something that I think would be really cool is if the city had a fleet of electric cars, and if you need to drive them, you could drive them when you're in the city.
That's a great idea, Cass. That is a fantastic idea. All right, hang on a second here. Let me just move this over here. All right, so listen, I just wanted to show you this. This is this is Canada, right? Well, in some of the northern United States, but it says here in Canada, as of March this year, that we have 20,478 charging ports, right? Which is 8,732 charging stations. And most of those are along the Trans-Canada Highway. So you know that you can get from here to BC without much problem, because they're pretty regularly spaced, and you have no problems getting there. We don't have the same problems that they do in the States, where a lot of those charging stations, when you get to them, they don't work. Our system seems to be working out pretty good. And Tesla also has an amazing network of charging stations across Canada as well, if you're using them. I think they're trying to make them all universal now, the plug-in ports, so that everybody can use everybody else's stuff.
But it takes 30 to 40 minutes for a charge, right? So if I'm going on a 3 or 4 hour car ride, how much time am I adding on top of that? And wear and tear on my body that I can actually be a driver to do this.
That's right. Well, people say it's not healthy to sit down for more than 20 minutes or so. But the point is that I mean, that's a long bathroom break, right? that's a for me, I'm in and out in like 5 minutes, right? But for right now, yes, the average charging time is, and that's not for 100%. That's only for 80% charge, right? So if you're going across Canada, it's 80% of the last 80%. It's 80% of that eventually. So my point here is that for most trips that you're going to take, knowing that every 200 kilometers or so, you're going to have a charging station that you can charge up at. Your vehicle usually tells you how far you have to go for the next charging station, etc. That you could pretty much get anywhere. And the way that I know that this is true is that I've noticed lately that there are electric vehicles in Hamilton area, in the GTHA, from Arizona, from Florida, from California. They're able to get here, obviously, and they didn't abandon their vehicles on the road someplace and just fly, right? So something is up here when it comes to EV charging stations, and Canada's committed to adding more charging stations as time goes on. So this is the worst it's going to get. Does this make you feel a little bit better about no? Cass? Not so much. Okay, all right, okay, tough crowd. Okay.
Ivan, you got to do the math. So let's say we put in 3 charging stations in Sault Ste. Marie.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Now you got 3 more stations, 3 more plugs. Except there's 100 new EVs in town. Do the math. You actually got less charging stations per car than you had before, right?
Yeah, but most people are going to charge at home.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, sure. But the thing is, when you're traveling and you got all these cars that all, you mentioned the Trans-Canada Highway. I'm looking at the map and I see a charging station in Wawa. And then I'm going to say the next one looks like it's in Thessalon, which is east of Sault Ste. Marie. It's kind of odd that there's not a charging station in Sault Ste. Marie, but there's not. That's probably a 400-kilometer thing. Now, depending on how many cars are going past that area and how many actual chargers are in that charging station, if you have 10 vehicles looking at 2 chargers and you happen to pull in your vehicle number 11, and each one of those vehicles needs, I'm going to say, half an hour. So there's a 2.5-hour wait just to get on for your half hour. So now you just added 3 hours to your trip. Whereas if I'm in a gas powered car, I stopped at the gas station, I filled up my tank in 5 minutes, and 3 hours later, I am approaching Toronto, and you're still in Sault Ste. Marie.
So okay, so let me just say this, okay? So think about all the vehicles that never pull into a gas station. Like my brother, he will never pull into a gas station, ever. Right?
That's good. That means I'm going to be able to fill up faster. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. So think about all of the other people who will never pull into a gas station. So they'll never have an interruption to their day because, like Catherine says, when they come home at night, they're going to plug in. So they're never going to interrupt their day. For the majority of trips, for 95% of all the trips that you're going to make, they're never going to interrupt their day to stop at a gas station for anything because it's already done at home, right?
Okay, I got a question for you, Ivan.
Let me finish my point. My point
Okay.
is that with electric vehicles, we're talking about things that are not relevant to most people, which is range anxiety, right? And the time to charge because they are doing that while they're sleeping, as opposed to having to do that in the day. They get in their car, they drive around, they do everything they got to do. They have up to like 400 kilometers to do it, where most of us do less than 100 a day, and then they come home and they plug it in, right? So, just like and plugging in your car when you come home is nothing. It's like it's like putting the thing in your gas tank and then walking away and not thinking about it again while you sleep, right? So, and then all those vehicles are not going to charging stations. The only people that are going to charging stations are those that either are like me, who live in an apartment building, or those who, and my apartment building actually yesterday gave me a survey to find out how many charging stations they need to put in this building to accommodate the 2 buildings that we have here. So it's coming. It's taking them a lot longer. But for the people that are are those people who are traveling from Quebec to Sault Marie, and they have to stop at a charging station. So that's why I think it's such an amazing thing. Your thoughts?
So, Ivan, how's everything going with your electric vehicle?
Who, me? But I don't have one.
Well, you're the advocate. You're advocating for them.
I'm an advocate for going to Mars, but I'm not an astronaut.
Well, why aren't you adopting if they're that great?
Spend more than $10,000 on a car.
Yeah, so and I have a thing where I buy used cars. So actually, right now we are looking at replacing Teresa's van with an electric vehicle. So so we're looking at those numbers. As soon as they get down to be about $25,000, then I'll buy it. But I don't buy new cars. Like I can buy a brand new Volvo right now, but it's going to cost me $70,000-$80,000, and I won't spend on a non-hybrid or non-electric vehicle more than 10 grand.
The only problem with buying used electric vehicles is that the batteries are almost used up, and it'll cost you somewhere between $6,000 and $10,000 to replace that with a brand new one, or you can have a remanufactured one where basically all they do is they hook the battery pack up to a computer, they go through each individual cell and replace the bad ones, and then they give you a 1-year warranty.
Right, but hold on. Can I just say something?
That's still going to cost you between $4,000 and $6,000.
So listen. I'm going to tell you this. It's funny how people that are anti-electric vehicles they talk about it, because I know if you were to think about before electric vehicles came along, if you're buying a used car, what are people concerned about? They're concerned about things that do not exist in electric vehicles. right? So and those things are going to cost you a fortune. They're going to cost you a fortune. So, you know, if I had an engine problem in my car, it's going to cost me $5,000, you know, at least, right? You know, so what I'm saying to you is that, yeah, sure, we are told that, you know, it's going to deplete and you're going to have these problems with your electric vehicle, but for the most part, even if the battery is depleted, you're still going to get your 100 to 200 kilometers out of it. Maybe not your 400, but you're still going to get enough to get you to work and get you back home, and you're going to be fine, right? So yes, sure. But
If
okay, so listen, before we go on, I just want to get this. We got 26,000, 2,600 in Ontario. Again, the same numbers exist for range anxiety, etc. And of course, here in Hamilton. Now, I just want you to see the gas stations here, right? And you've got these other ones here are the charging stations that exist. Now, in some of these cases, there are only 2 charging stations at one of these locations. And in other cases, there are 6 or more, like at the malls and stuff like that, right? But you'll notice, though, that the number of gas stations that exist in Hamilton and the number of charging stations, you know, they're getting better, right? So we're just kind of racking those up, right? All right. So, and like I said, most homes and apartment buildings can install charging ports, but not a lot of homes or buildings can install a gas station, right? So it kind of gives you that flexibility that you don't have with a hydrogen vehicle or an internal combustion engine. Go ahead.
Okay, the thing is though, when I go by Large Mall, right, the thing is though, I see the electric cars, they're plugged in at night. They're plugged in around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, which means someone had to drive the car there, and either they took a bus home or someone in a gas car or another electric car had to drive them to pick them up to bring them home.
Yeah.
Also, the other problem is if electric cars were such good, why did Hamilton get rid of all its electric trolleys?
No, I don't know. I don't know about the Hamilton and their electric trolleys, but what I do know is this: if I had, let's say Michael was living close to me, and I had an electric vehicle that I could drive around all day and plug in at night and pay a fraction of what Michael is paying for his gas, and then Michael was going to pick me up in his gas car, not charge me a penny, and drive me to the place where I could pick up my car that I just paid like 5 cents to charge up overnight. To me, I would say, thank you, Michael. I love you, man. Keep it coming.
The other thing with electric vehicles is we're going to have to retrain all our fire departments and change all the equipment because they can't use water on electric cars.
That's right.
They've done it in the past, and the cars have burst right back into flames.
Yeah.
We can't use water to ignite to put out these lithium batteries. We need special, which means a tanker is going to have to follow the fire truck to a car fire to put it out.
Yeah, well, you don't have a lot of there are a lot of places saying, hey, don't plug your electric car in the building. Some buildings are saying, I don't even want you to have your electric car anywhere near our underground. So we get it, right? However, with that said, there are a lot of gas car fires happening. I've seen a lot of bad accidents with electric vehicles, and they don't burst into flames, right? So something happens that causes that rapid, explosion or whatever it is. Something happens there. I don't know what it is, but I think that with new technology, we're going to have, a standard amount of issues happening. But as they get better, then great. Like my brother's car, he's never had a like that type of issue with his electric vehicle, right? So, and he's had it for years.
So that's because he hasn't been in an accident. And this is the thing is we're talking about an accent. If you have
No, he has
if you
nothing.
have a car.
Oh, speaking about my brother, by the way, everybody, my brother's on the line. Isn't that
Is he on the
amazing?
line? Oh wow.
Hey, Glenn. Hey, so we're talking about we're talking about issues with your electric car. Issues like what's your experience like with your Tesla? And you're on mute.
Sorry, I don't get out much.
He makes the same face as you though.
He does make the same face
when he's on mute and he comes off.
So are you thinking about like what issues have I had so far?
Yeah, yeah. Tell me the raw truth about your experience having an electric car.
Okay. Okay. Overall, best car I've ever driven, right? But there have, of course, been like strange little quirks. Like right now, I'm having a problem where it doesn't charge on my home charger, right?
Oh.
Yeah, go figure. So so the solution to that is Tesla's coming out to my home to fix it, right? So yeah,
how long has this been going on for?
Well, we just kind of discovered it maybe a week ago, right? But we're thinking, well, what do we do, right? But like I didn't know what to do about it, right? So I called my electrician and stuff like that. And then I thought, well, maybe I should just go into my app. And I went into the app, and of course, lo and behold, there is a space that says, "Do you have problems with your home charger?" So I filled it in. They said, "Take a video of it." So I did, sent it in. Then I got an email from Tesla asking for some more information. So I did, and then they said, "Okay, when are you available to come out for us to come out and address it?" They had to order some parts, and now it's scheduled for mid next week. Yeah.
So how do you charge your car now?
Well, it just plug it into a wall outlet.
Oh, okay.
Charge it slower, right? But still, I could do that, or I could take it to a supercharger.
How long have you had it?
The wall outlet or
No,
the
no,
Tesla?
the car.
Well, I guess I've had both since 2018.
Okay, 2018.
Yeah. So that's a current problem I've had. I've only had one other problem where the steering was locked, right?
Oh yeah.
So
Tell them that one.
oh yeah. So I took my mom to church, and I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I tried to reverse, and I couldn't turn the steering wheel, right? So I contacted Tesla from the app, and they said reboot the car, right? So I rebooted the car, and then of course it started to work again. And then I got it home, stopped it, and same thing happened. So that evening, Tesla came out, took the car, gave me a replacement, and then they ordered a new part for it, right? So they came in, fixed it, and that was that. So, but the nice thing was they came to my place, took it away, brought me a car, which was nice.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so okay, what is the thing that you don't like about your electric car experience?
That I don't like? You know, I think it's the best car I've driven. So I have the Tesla, we have an Audi, and we have a Buick, right? No one wants to drive either of those other cars. It's just a Tesla because it's easier to drive. It's more comfortable to drive, and it's hard to explain, but it's kind of just a smarter way. oh, and it's cheaper. Like that's number one, right? So we did the government thing where we got solar on the house, so now we are truly driving off sun power, right? Which is pretty cool. But yeah, like it's like do Michael, do you own or have you driven electric vehicle?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So far, nobody's built one that meets my needs.
Yeah.
I tow. I go north in the winter.
Yeah.
I go to places where there's not necessarily a place to charge. One way is at least 300K. So if I'm gonna have an electric car, I no longer can just go up and do my thing and come back. It doesn't
You'd have to
have,
go up and charge. Yeah.
well, the vehicle doesn't have the internal capacity I need. They don't have the towing capacity that I need. General Motors will eventually build Yukon XLs with electric capability. But I'm also not going to go pay $140,000 for a car.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's just,
well, there's the F1.
And like Ivan, I don't buy new vehicles. I buy used vehicles, and I drive those used vehicles anywhere from 6 to 10 or 12 years. They're usually anywhere between 4 and 7 years old when I buy them. So buying a 7-year-old or even a 4 or 5-year-old electric vehicle, first of all, none exist in my class. Secondly, with battery life being about 6 years before you have to replace it, I would be buying myself a headache. It'd be the same as buying a vehicle where they tell you, yeah, you're going to pay $40,000 for this vehicle. And I'm using sort of prices of Yukons 6, 7 years old. They're in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. And then somebody saying, well, okay, you're going to pay that $40,000 to $50,000, but you also have to replace the motor. And replacing a motor in one of those things is probably $7,000 or $8,000, and I'm sure it's at least that much to do the batteries, because they have to actually strip the interior out of the vehicle so that they can, all those batteries sit in the undercarriage, right? So where your passenger compartment is, that's where your battery bank is, underneath all your seats and everything. So to strip all that out and put new batteries in there, probably, I don't know, at least $8,000 by the time you strip the vehicle and put new ones in. And at that point, it doesn't really become, economically viable to buy a vehicle that's going to end up costing, at least 65,000 by the time you throw taxes and everything on that too. So no, I don't even, it's not even something I consider. I'm a true believer that the electric vehicle's it's not the solution it's being touted as. I think it's a great solution for people who drive their cars maybe less than 150K a day, and they don't do long distance trips. That's not me. I use a lot of short-term driving around the city. My wife's car is a little car because that can be used for zipping around the city. My vehicle is the one that travels, 600 kilometers on a regular basis. On weekends, we do trips down to the States where it might be a 1,500 kilometer trip that weekend. So I have the long range cruiser and the hauler. So different uses, and they haven't, those big vehicles aren't electrified yet anyways.
So Sally's got an electric car, and you have to stay with the other one. Glenn's only got one.
I don't have, no, the other car's not an electric car. It's a gas powered car.
That's what I'm saying. Right? Like
it wouldn't make sense. It actually wouldn't make sense, just because of, she drives her car so little that the the savings in fuel would not justify the extra cost of the electric. As an example, she goes to the gas station maybe once a month and spends $30 on gas. Her car, it just doesn't, economically, it just doesn't make sense, right? Like she's not driving enough kilometers for
So
the
you
electrics to make sense.
You're not normal for that. Like most of us are
Right.
a couple times a week, or you know.
So I got a question. I got another question. I just want to get that in for Glenn. You've been driving your car now for 5 years, and are you noticing a reduction in range because you obviously you still have the same batteries?
Yeah. So I used to charge to 480 kilometers. Now I charge to 450 kilometers.
Okay. All right. Okay. So is it a precipitous drop off after you get to like 6 years, or will it just continue to decrease until 10 years from now you're down to 400 kilometers? Is that, or is it going to be 10 years from now you're going to be at like 150 kilometers?
I don't believe that it drops off as thought, right? In the Tesla forums, there are people that have made it to 1 million kilometers, right, on their vehicle.
Glenn, when you say you charge to 450, I understand that. Have you ever measured accurately that you actually got the 450? Like if you charge to 450, do you typically get the 450, or do you get a higher or a lower number than that?
Okay, okay, first we drive differently because you drive a lot. You're driving constantly out of the city. You said that you drive 600 kilometers a day or something like that, and that's not how I normally drive, right? Would I get 450 kilometers? Well, yeah, I would actually. Well, I've never driven to zero, ever.
Right.
But I have driven to 400 kilometers before recharging, right? And then I've had to refill. But then again, it's a good point that you raised, because I don't think I've ever actually done that with my other cars either. I haven't really said, oh, am I getting the actual gas range?
Yeah, it's just like, when you fill up your car, when I fill up my car, there's a little button I can hit and it'll say range is 800 kilometers.
Yeah.
Last weekend I was going up, or 2 weeks I was going up north, and I stopped at the Costco in Barrie and bought some gas, and it pulled out of there. It said 800 kilometers. So I'm driving down the highway. I've driven 20K, and now it says I got 820 kilometers.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I have, instead of driving, in a city where the range, there's poorer gas mileage than there is typically on the highway.
Yeah.
So it's reflecting that, oh, you were driving on the highway, so now your range is higher. And that's why I asked you, like, if you're driving in the city a lot, you got a lot of stop and goes. Obviously, that draws more energy from a battery than if you were to drive up to Edmonton and you're just at a constant 110. You don't have those surges in power, right?
No, it's different. It's different than internal combustion engine. When you have a lot of stop and starts, the battery does better than just driving a long distance, right? And the reason why is the regenerative braking. So, with your car, if you just drive straight to Edmonton, no problem, because you get way better mileage. With me, stopping and starting in the city, I get better mileage because of the regenerative braking. If I were to just drive straight to Edmonton, then, I wouldn't get as good mileage.
Interesting.
Fascinating. Okay, so Glenn, because you said that it's the best vehicle you've ever had, or the best driving experience you've ever had. Why? Can you just give us some quick points on what it is that you really super dig about it, and would you buy another electric car? And if you did buy another electric car, would you go with another Tesla?
Well, Tesla's the only one that I know. Would I buy another one? Yeah. But so the driving experience is a little bit different for me, at least, right? So every month I get an upgrade. So the car that I have now is better than the car that I bought. That's the first thing. I get a lot of really cool, functional, not just toys, but like functional upgrades that make my car better every month. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is, in maintenance, I spent since 2018, I spent about $300 in actual maintenance, not including tires, which you have to get, right? And not including tires, windshield washer fluid. Actually, maybe $350, including windshield washer fluid, since about 2018, right?
That's pretty good.
Which that would be like, for the Audi, that would be like one service maintenance, right? One of the major services, right? That would be it, and you have to do that at least once a year. So it's way cheaper to drive, right? That's why no one wants to drive any other vehicle right now. Another thing is, you know, I know it sounds like a gimmick to people that haven't had it, but the self-driving piece, it is so much better to have 4 eyes on the road, mine and the cars, than just mine, right? So, you know, anytime that I'm driving long distance, always put it on, because, you know, it just has that second set of eyes that if you look away, you know that someone else is, well, the car is watching. And I didn't think that I would actually want to do that because I like driving, but yeah, it's a really good function. So short answer is cheaper, way cheaper. Cheaper in electricity, definitely way cheaper. The constant upgrades, fantastic. The service is great. Like, it's a little weird. So actually, one thing that's weird that you will have to get used to is, in order to keep the service costs down, everything is done through the app, right? So you just don't take it into the service station. You have to tell them your problem. You have to give them information about your problem. They run a diagnostic on your car, from Tesla, and then if you need parts, they'll take care of it. If they have to come out, they'll do that. But it's not the same kind of service experience that you would get, you know, with a regular car.
Amazing. And I guess at some point, if we were not going to electric vehicles, maybe the internal combustion engine car manufacturers would then start adopting some of these service features, like using the app and being able to with so much electronics on the car, they can actually do the diagnostics remotely and then identify what's wrong with the car. As opposed to today, when you take your car into a dealership, they charge you $115 to do that diagnostic, and then they'll tell you what's going on. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, the problem I have with that is that the car, where's your privacy?
Remember
That your car is now being tracked by whom? What information is that? Are you driving to work? Are you driving to whatever fun place or something? All that information your car is storing. And
very similar to your phone, yeah.
Yeah, similar to your phone. So car companies, governments, you look at what happened in the States. Okay? That safe company handed the information over to a safe to unlock it.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
There's a safe company. We actually covered this last week. There's a company that has a safe, and then they handed off the information for the safe so that other people can unlock your safe that you bought, right? But listen, I'll tell you this: the problem with the car is the car doesn't go into a building with me. A car doesn't go into an apartment building with me. but my phone does, and my phone is giving that information out to not only the phone company, but also to every app that I've given permission on my phone, and that could be hundreds of different companies that are tracking me. So I think this illusion of privacy that some of us still hold on to, I think that ship has sailed a little while ago. But and internal combustion engine cars, by the way, right now track you as well. Like
you're absolutely right, Ivan. On any vehicle that has OnStar on it gets tracked whether or not you pay for the subscription. And OnStar's been in like a standard feature on GM vehicles from at least 2005.
Yeah.
So so there, and there's other companies that have actually used the GM technology there. They don't call it OnStar, obviously, because it's another brand, but there's other car companies that are also doing that. So I'm not sure that there's actually too many cars out there today where your movements aren't being tracked. Like I know OnStar, if you're driving your vehicle and they want to stop you, the police can actually call an OnStar center and say, we're following this vehicle with this license plate, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And OnStar will ask the police officer, is this a safe place to stop the vehicle? And if they say yes, they actually kill your ignition right there. And that's as far as you're going.
Yeah.
So, and that technology's been there for, like Catherine said, probably 15, 20 years.
But there are ways to maintain your privacy, right? There really are. Like, if you were to drive a pre-2000 vehicle and not carry your phone, then you can really say that you are more private, right? But this is kind of an interesting thing. In Calgary, there was a case where there was an assault at a train station, right? And in the case, they had video of every single. They could track that person from the moment that they left the bar, right? Like follow the entire path of that person right to the train station, and they got that person even on the freaking train. It's like,
amazing.
Wow. So anyway, so if you had a pre-2000 car and no cell phone and lived in the jungle, then you're private.
Well, I can tell you I've got a brand new Hyundai. If my keys are around, I can start my car. Drive to Toronto, and I tried to lock my car and realized I don't have my keys on me. So they must have been in the driveway, started my car, left, called Hyundai so that I wouldn't have to get my husband to come from Hamilton to Toronto, because I'm right in the middle of the city. I'm at Keele in 407. And after a few questions and stuff, they remotely started me.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
I thought that technology, though, was that, yes, you can start your keys if it's in proximity, but once the proximity is gone, that it shuts off the ignition.
It just tells you.
No, it doesn't, for safety.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
You start in the car with you, and I must have missed that.
Wow. Okay, didn't realize that it'll keep going.
Yeah, we've done that where somebody wants to unlock the house as the other person's backing in, right? So we pass the keys off, and it goes bing, bing, bing. You don't have your keys, but yeah.
Okay, so listen, I just want to have some fun with you guys right now and just show this video. I didn't get to do the presentation because we had a great conversation about electric cars. Thank you very much, Paul and Michael. Here we go. Now listen, we're talking about 3 very, very lightning fast cars, okay? And yes, the Tesla Plaid would have won eventually. It was creeping up there, but this Zeekr does the range is 700 kilometers on a charge, and it goes from 0 to 100 in 3.8 seconds, which is fast. It's fast.
Yeah.
You know,
that's pretty fast.
My 12-second Volvo was good, but 3.8 seconds.
Oh, your Volvo could go at 3.8 seconds too, but you'd suck so much gas out of your car, you'd be empty.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. If I had a bunch of, I don't know, something pulling it, for sure. But these cars today, whether they are American cars or Chinese or Japanese, Chinese cars, they are amazing vehicles, right? Mm-hmm. These cars are amazing vehicles. And just to quickly run through that, China is making a lot of vehicles that we don't even see on our roads today. We don't, right? They are not only the manufacturer of the most electric vehicles, but they're also the manufacturer of the most batteries. So, so when you're looking at, we started last week talking about the tech race between China and America, and how we're kind of losing it here when it comes to dominating the space. Like, if the future is electric vehicles for vehicles, then the West is going to lose. If the future is not the fuel cells, we're still hydrogen fuel cells, then we're still losing, because hydrogen fuel cells are being fueled in China, Japan, and Korea, right? So we have a major battle. If we're going to relinquish our dominance in vehicle manufacturing and innovation, then fine. But if we want to compete, then it's going to be a really tough slog for us. We have a lot of catching up to do, and I think that we need to start getting more adopters. As you can see, that there are a lot more people that are buying electric cars everywhere else, right? So the benefits of electric cars, of course, I'm not going to go through this, but this just basically talks
Motor Week is made
about with the things that need to get done on an electric car that you don't need to do here. Brake pads. This guy here, by the way, all he's talking about is the reasons why you still have to take your electric car in for maintenance. You still have to do it, even though it's an electric car. And then he talks about things like, brake fluid and battery coolant for your 12-volt and your brake pads and tire rotation, etc. But certainly not the things that we would typically look at. Well, listen, folks, thank you so much. Thank you. Stop share. There we go. Thank you for coming. Glenn, thanks for jumping on. That was good. It was nice getting some feedback from an actual Tesla owner. Would you go for the Plaid next time? Would you do that?
Plaid? Actually, I would go for the Roadster if I could afford it.
Absolutely. Listen, I'll tell you.
Or a Ford F1, the Ford F-150 Lightning, which looks pretty cool, actually.
But thank you, everybody, for jumping on, and we'll be talking about wind energy next week and residential wind turbines. All right, and I'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Stick around. Stick around.